Hello, beautiful souls. So today I want to talk about judgment. And it's a hard thing to talk about because I know before I was super judgmental, and of course probably my whole life. And I would say that more because, because now, more than anything, the reason being was that I judged myself so strictly. Now, I'm not saying there aren't people who are narcissistics or just, because that's how narcissists are. It would be the flip of that. They just enjoy judging everybody and putting everybody down. And I wasn't openly judgmental like very judgmental people are, but mine was more along the lines, and I was very strictly religious, and then maybe didn't have a religion anymore, but was very moralistic, and I knew the hygienic and mental reasons why in my mind I wanted to do those things for me. So I would say the most legalistic person I've ever been is when I was with the last person I was with, like the Luciferian, the Satanist, the light bringer, the fake one. I don't think I was ever more judgmental in that period from when I lived with the weirdo before him, the one, that broke me down to get me ready for that group. I don't think I was ever so judgmental in my life as I was at that point, being with those kinds of people. And it makes sense because they take your energy, and you're going to be not only down on yourself, but everybody. And then you're going through hell, and you just thought you got out of hell, and you just thought you got out of a cult. And here you are back in another one, going through all the same stuff, trying to break away, trying to find your freedom and trying to love people at the same time. Love is always how they trap you, by the way. It's like how they trap you with the light. In this whole thing of dying and going to the light, which over the years, after having died and going to the complete darkness, and, over the years studying what happened to me then when I was suicidal and trying to get out of those cults by killing myself, because I didn't see any other way out, I think that the biggest judgment, that I did or anybody ever does is upon their self. Unless they're a narcissist, then they don't have the capability really of being able to deeply do that, to see themselves. So they can talk about being woke all day and they can hang the language all day, the Satanists and the Luciferians, just like the Christians do, because they're just the opposite end of the whole sun worshipping pole Romanism here. Like I said, Christianity has not been Christianity for 2,000 years. So, and the reason being that is that Christ's short work was already done on earth and he went back to the Father, and Revelation was the revealing of Christ, and Christ has already been revealed. Everything's already been done. And I'm not saying we're not headed into another reset cycle, which has happened over and over again, since that. I'm not saying that because I firmly believe that. I think I have more of a polar than a solar mentality now. And it's been that way for a while. And probably going into the darkness in my shadow and my ancestral stuff was really, shamanism was what really exposed me to the fact that, and of course these people harming me and having my center moved over and over and over again, which they said they were doing to help me at first, but then I realized it was to help them because a Luciferian's a false light bringer. And it's funny because people say they're against the law, but they're the most legalistic people I have ever met in my life besides the Amish Mennonite. And I'm sure they wouldn't look at themselves that way, but they are, because they want to put those restraints on everyone except them. That's a narcissistic thing. So when I was with the Luciferians and going through my shamanic stuff and having my assemblage point moved, I realized this is what Luciferians and Satanists, who, by the way, are not ancestral believers. They might tell themselves they are if they don't follow Luciferian Satanism Bible thing, and they're just organically on their own. To me, organically, mystics and shamans can be on any path. Any path. So I'm not excluding everyone. I'm simply saying the majority of the belief system believes this, and the beliefs are set. And if you follow that way because you think being rough, tough, mean, and thinking about death all the time is cool, you're going to miss the whole shamanic ideas in my belief system that were my Scandinavian ancestors and were my Germanic tribe roots. The truth of that, of honoring death, but also in disease, but also healing it shamanically. And the heal part isn't there with the Satanists and Luciferians. It's more power to me, drink more blood, the blood of things strangled, let's do a sacrifice, you know, because they have to keep sacrificing for their dead gods, because their dead gods will be weak if they don't sacrifice for them, because they need the life force that's in the blood. So even if you're calling yourself like a shaman, I'm a dark shaman, whatever, there's always a reason to be on the other end, or this end or that end. But the more I study the polarity through my center, that I understand my center, then I understand the truth of this geocentric world should be the polar center, the North Star that never moves. So all of my ancestors, since the last time the poles were in a different position and there was a different pole star, that would be the ones that I would want to evolve and go to and join with that. And not that I have to, nobody has to do anything. You have a choice here, but the light needs fuel. And so the light will eat you. And people will say, you'll hear people say that are in these different cults, oh, you know, the light is deceit. Everything here that the light hits is deceit. And we must be sun on wind, you know, because nothing moves us because we're just, you know, the top of the line of the deceit. And that's so, everything solar has so twisted every belief that's polar. My ancestors did sacrifice. But they sacrificed the people, as I've said before, that were sick and dying and or mentally ill and would give themselves up. And you say, oh, well, that wasn't a clean or a pure sacrifice. Well, then they had animals for that. And since 2,000 years ago, none of the Germanic tribes or any of those people have had a reason to have to sacrifice and worship the old gods. That's a choice. So the more and I'm still learning a lot, the more that I go into my center and I see the external center, when I came back to Earth after the first time that I died when I was like 15 and I had a heart attack, when I left, I was just not here. Here did not exist anymore. I was just gone, and I was running in this place that was light with this little boy, and everything there, the blades of grass, us, everything was lit from within the inside. The flowers, the city that was afar off, and I could see the light from it. And we were just running in the grass, and nothing existed but that moment of having fun running in that grass. And it could have been an eternity for all I knew. Like, I didn't know here anymore. But then I remember saying, as I've shared before, I wanted to find my grandmother, or, you know, go back to the people that I loved. And that was when immediately my energy was pulled away, and I went back down through this tunnel, this vortex, which to me, people would say, oh, you're going up into the sun and the angels, the Shem angels. That's what we're all deceived about, you know, in this age. To me, that's what I believe. No, I was falling back down the pole. I had been the energy of the thought forms of my ancestors, and with that pole star. And when I came back down through that tunnel of light, to me, it was my own center. It was here, and it was the poles. It was Polaris. So the more I've studied now, because like I've been saying for years, New Age Asian stuff didn't make sense to me, and now I understand why. Because since a long time ago, when they started killing shamans for the sun, and sacrificing them so that education and progress and democracy, which is communism and totalitarianism there, they killed all the shamans. And they do that everywhere they go, the light religions do, the left or the right sides of it, because they want to set up education and order in their squares over the circle and over the yin yang and over the balance. And so all of those symbols have changed. And when you start to look at them from a polar aspect, the yin yang as the fish, and you see the two moons, and I was studying that this week, and I'll put a picture up of it when I post this video that I painted. It was that, and hearing some symbology turned into polar language over solar language, and it was like so much just clicked. And I understood so much I didn't understand before about old world shamanism that was geo-earth-centric, and new world, new age, totalitarian sun worship that, like Hitlerism, that took all those symbols and made them into the Romanist Babylonian lie that they are today. And so my mind is really blown away lately, and it's funny because other people were saying with these astrological changes that are happening right now, and with the tarot and all that is astrologically, symbolically, I don't know how to say it, symbolically related. My brain had to skip there. Excuse my record. So now that I started studying and listening to an old ancient Chinese philosophy system of shamanism that existed before the Tao, before the education, before the light beings, the Luciferians took over everything here. And yes, they've made much progress, and yes, they do make progress, but they destroy and keep destroying in order to rebuild. That's their agenda. And now when I had asked the earth to show me things, and I started finding burial mounds and antiques and old buildings, and seeing the difference between what the native structures made and what the ancient lunar structures were like, and then what the Vedic structures were like, and how different they were, I started to understand the difference between soul, geocentric, earth-centered angels and the fake. Now, most people that call themselves earth angels don't get what they're talking about. In the new age light Shem angel aspect, and people are all into the Shem guardian angels without even knowing what they are. That aspect of working with those angels, if you say you're an earth angel, then you're a demon. You're a fallen angel because you're on earth here and you fell. And that's not true for everyone. Some of us are here evolving, and we came from ancestral grounds, Polaris, and we're coming back now for our own. And that is sort of more our earth angel mission here. The Luciferians, if you're an earth angel and a jinn, then you got a deceiver and a life force taker and a life hacker, and hack all the knowledge of the earth, strip mine her and strip mine woman and strip mine everything, for knowledge. And while I was learning what my path was, yes, I did some of that, but thankfully I just always had a heart and had loved my ancestors. Since I was a child, always loved anything ancestral to do with lineage, heritage, antiques, all this stuff. And as soon as I got into Satanism, Luciferian, all that shifted. But that was beautiful because I learned to understand the opposite side of Christianity, and really what Christianity's been for 2,000 years it's been Babylon for 2,000 years, you know, or more or less, depending on what you think our storyline is here. Because some people think it's give or take 1,000 years, and I don't want to get into that whole mud flood theory and flat earth theory, which I'm not a flat earther. I don't even see anything flat around here. And to me, it's more like I said, like the egg or the eye shape than oval or flat. And I know there can be flat planes, there can be planes, because that's how frequencies and dimensions make sense to me. But still, give or take, I wouldn't argue about the earth being perfectly round. And I think the things that we see in the sky, definitely if they're burning, such as stars, can't be in a vacuum, because that doesn't make sense to me, like scientifically. So I see it as like pools of light in the water. And my mind is still going over these things and still trying to comprehend. And I used to talk about going from here to like the 12th dimension, going from here to nothing. And now I just understand my path and my growth, and I'm not in a hurry because no one's trying to hurt me or anything, to just sit back and enjoy and let my evolution come to me. I sit back in my center, in my peace, and I let my evolution in the story come to me and unfold. And now that it's totally switched up from solar to polar belief systems. Now I'm going back through cards and astrology and the moon cycles and everything based on a polar instead of a solar. And seeing how the Satanists and the people with rotten attitudes nowadays are once again turning all the ancestral stuff into solar worship instead of the ancestors. The ancestors are all about the underworld. No, they're not. That's a lie. If you want to be part of that and stay here, go ahead. But that's not how I feel called to be. To me, I went to the lower dimensions. I got my keys. I bought my soul. I returned here to earth, to the land of the living. And I have met the upper beings. And so I've met beings of light, shamanic, left hand, right hand path, Luciferian, Christian, you know, all these divisions of this path, that path, and we each have their light talk, blah, 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 balance. And I don't think any of it's balanced. So now, like, I'm going back over all of my symbology. And a person I love for symbology, and I'll put him up, is not Juan, I have him up. It's Mario, who is a really good card reader. And his YouTube is Symbolic Studies, and I think his Instagram is symbolic.studies. But go to his YouTube page, because there's false Instagrams made after his page, because it's just really good stuff. And he hardly has any followers, but his stuff is so deep. And if you're into Nordic, Scandinavian, ancient Germanic, Viking, ancestral, anything, even Chinese, look into his stuff, because the ancient symbology proves that the ancient shamanic Chinese wheel, to me, is the truth. And this Luciferian BS, yeah, if you want to follow that, you want to just give yourself up to the light and burn and be that recycled tank, you know, you have that right to be whatever it is you're going for. But as being someone who feels like this star system is failing and this sun and this earth are going to fail, I want to gather as much as my past ancestral history and people I can, and go to the north. So everything has a center. They show the sun as the circle with the dot, but if you look at that in polarity, that's an example of the mother and the sun. And the mother archetype, the Satans have, Luciferians, pirates, whatever, have used to show the sea, which is not wrong, because Vikings used to bury people at sea, and then land burials are also very important. So are burning burials. And the sea burials were burning burials anyways. So I am just restudying and relearning everything from a geocentric polar North Star point. So basically, like, my soul's found its north. So if you think of everything in terms of center and central, even to yourself, you have to bow to your soul to be able to find center outside of you. Because until you know center within yourself, you're not going to know it outside of you. And once you know it in yourself, you are not going to be distracted by the lies of things that are outside yourself. See, polar, centric, and geocentric belief systems are for supporting life in this earth. And Satan's and Luciferians' light religions, even the false Babylonian Christianity that's been here for 2,000 years, is about that. It's a lie to me. And it should be about the earth, the geo, the preserving the human. And this is what many of us that are moving back toward polar-centric beliefs and belief systems are doing, but then we're still giving our energy and our life force and our belief systems over to the 2,000-year Luciferian reign that's been going on. And I understand that because we can't help it. Our history's been wiped out. Everything's been wiped out. But when you find your center in your own soul and you buy that back via your own suffering, once you understand you and your centric and earth-centric and sun-centric and polar-centric, and understand real shamanism and real truth of oneself and one's biology on this earth, and where one should go to be with their ancestors, and not destroy things as you go from sun to sun, then to me, people will start dropping solar mentality and moving into polar, and they are now. The music is, the kids are, they love the Viking. Like, I'm going to go to a Wandura and Heilung concert with my daughter and my niece and daughter-in-law in April, and I'm so looking forward to that. And that's kind of going to be overwhelming for me, like all that noise and the people and the, you know, the life force takers and the blood drinkers and the Luciferians and the people who only know that darker end of the light spectrum religion that's been here for so long. But the more I get centered in the soul, and then the earth, rounded in the earth, and then understand the geocentric and polar star beliefs, I understand and can see now on the land how all these things started erecting small little things to follow the ecliptic, and turned from following the phases of the moon and the stars spinning around the polar to the way the sun went from east to west. And so even when you study ancient shamanism, east and west was like our north and south. So everything really has been turned on its head to keep us blind to what we really are here. And so I don't blame any of the young kids. They're searching, they're going for their ancestors, they're looking for the truth. And, you know, I hope to be a guide and a guide to that path in any way that I'm used to be. So I want to be part of that and teach my kids the truth of symbology and the moon and the lunar phases as opposed to the solar phases, not saying they're not correct and that our clock isn't based on them and that the sundial isn't based on them, and time taking life force because time unspirals instead of going the opposite way the clock used to. When you study the poles and you go for polar religions, that's what it does. It brings one into the center. So it brings into the center, where in solar, it's life force taking and giving constantly. Giving. Outside. What do these people think? What does that think? What does this religion believe? Where polar-centric, geocentric is to find your space and place in this time right now in Earth. So it's important to know not only the lunar cycles, but the star patterns around the North Pole. So I'm relearning everything. And it's cool for me and I love it. And again, it's 25 minutes and I blab continuously and I really only just started. So thanks for your time and your patience with me while I share from my diary, going from these Luciferian false light cults to ancestral geo-earth based and pole-based, pole star base understanding. You know that every so many thousands of years, it's the North Pole, it's the polarity of the Earth that changes and shifts, and the sun is just there, the constant the whole time. So I get now why people would ascend into a certain system, star system, and then when it's collected all of that energy, it then moves on, and the next group of people from another star system get to come and go, if you want to explain it that way. Because I kind of don't yet. But I also understand how and why the things that are taught about ascension and ascended masters here and light workers is all a lie. Because they're not talking about anything here but frequency domains. And as I explained with grids, frequency domains are owned by Luciferians. And everything's made into grids and squares and stacked frequencies of realities. Now, I'm not saying frequency isn't important, but like I've said many times before and kept saying, I'm pretty sure that there's other things that are being disregarded over frequency. And all talked about frequency because it's frequency domains, and because one must ascend as an ascended master to a certain ascension group, which, excuse me, are all one God, and they're not the geocentric earth God. And so I'm still learning and unlearning. What are these things of being ascended and descended? And what does it mean to ascend and then have to come back here again, fall here again, and relearn again, and meet the worst of the worst again? And where does that take you? And do I want to go to heaven to be with all my ancestors? Or do I want to evolve into this light? Or do I want to change the frequencies and ride the frequencies of these domains? No, like I'm rethinking everything I think. And I love that. I love being wrong and having to relearn everything. It's how I got out of so many cults, because you learn to rewire your network. And that helps you not to age. It helps your mind not to age. It helps you to be focused on things, to find new tribes, to find new belief systems, to get closer to your family. So yeah, it's just not only close to my family, but understanding who is the proper matriarchal guide and guard of that lineage, and the truth of what is the truth here. And who are the women in the family doing that? And you know, not the people always, our ancestors, and ancestry is so important, but all they want to know is what kings I was related to and what, you know, I don't know, the things I used to be interested in before. The stuff that's here today and gone tomorrow kind of thing. And so I understand why Geocentric is more about worshiping death, because your ancestors have gone to the beyond and you want to be with them. You know, and it's not this Luciferian sun eats you, light destroying crap. It's about really being whole with one's family again. And if that's a monad, right, then that's the monad I'm taking right now. And for me to unhook, I'm not afraid to unhook from the past and past stories, because I've learned enough about the mind that the best thing for it is to detach from all the previous ego beliefs and to, you know, set up my own new frequency domain or belief system or whatever. It helps me to make a new grid work. one that's not owned by somebody else already, by religions and New Ageism and Luciferians and Satanism and Ascension and Ascended Masters. Not against them, because there were shamans that ascended too. And that's in all the ancient shamanic stuff. But anyways, I will share more about even ancient shamanism. I'll put up the link. I can't remember the woman's name, because it's something like Ben Bewell is her name, or Bene Well. But anyway, she's Chinese, and she teaches ancient system when shamanism ruled before the empires of China came along, like empires do here, and just of the sun children, the serpent children, and destroy everything. So of the ancient ways, we live in cycles here, and one cycle is going and another cycle is coming. And yeah, I just wanted to share that because I'm excited about it, and I love what I'm doing and learning. So thank you for following my blog and following my journey out of, you know, the horrible evil of the light and the sweetness and the darkness of the womb and the soul, and bringing light to the soul, combining both the places, you know, and learning about my ancestors now, which was my root, which I always loved that. That was always what I was about. It was just disfigured by Christianity and these Babylonian light Romanism religions, which will have its 10 phases and die, and it is now. And the hate of Christianity, it really isn't about Jesus or the truth at all. It's about the lie of all the other ages that keep up setting up this Babylonian empires and Jewish Babylonian empires, and killing off anyone who's into the shamanic family root cultures. And I see that now, see it so much differently now that I'm like restudying all the symbology from a geocentric polar idea, especially the tarot. So cool. So I love Mario's work. He's my favorite, and anything when he comes out with anything, I'm on that, like, piecework, because I love it. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and I will put up more energies and share more of myself as I go along and learn this path. Shamanism, I guess, has a way of drawing one in and drawing one back to the original self and the original roots. That's what it's about. But I'm not taking no left hand, hurt your everybody BS thing. And I am also not afraid of judging my enemies. And I will talk about judging in the next video, because originally that's what I decided to talk about, was judging and how toxic or non-toxic it was, and how do you find yourself in these messed up religious systems of don't protect yourself because Jesus came to do a short work and then we're all going to go off this earth, so just be pure until that moment. And that's what that was all about. And it was just taken over and ruined. So yes, you can judge, and yes, from your soul space out, that's how you do it justly. Thank you.